Hey there, it's Kevin from Happy Coding here, and I've been doing these videos for a few days now. Over the last couple days I've been doing something called Genuary, which is an event that goes all through January where every day you get a different prompt, and based on that day's prompt you create some kind of creative coding artifact. So over the last few days I've created a few things. I created let's see here. This bouncing line was a Genuary thing. The bonsai tree was a Genuary thing. Loopers, recursive lines. These were all kind of based on Genuary. Here's one that I couldn't think of a better name, so I just called it Genuary 19. But it's kind of an image filter type deal. And I really enjoy Genuary, and so I'm going to keep going with that tonight. And so let's go over to today's prompt. And today is January 22nd. Hey, look, that's today. And the prompt is draw a line, wrong answers only. And I like this. This is kind of a funny one. And I had a few ideas for how I could approach this. I thought about maybe doing something with some trigonometry, or something with like a random walker or something like that. But I kind of have been doing those kinds of things quite a bit over the last few days. So loopers is basically exactly that. Recursive lines is basically exactly that. I think I started these videos with the random walker, so most of my ideas tended to go back towards those directions. So I wanted to kind of get away from that a little bit. And what I want to do is maybe try something a little bit more fundamental tonight and stick with maybe for loops. Maybe I'll get an animation towards the end, but I think I'm going to try to stick with for loops. And the idea I have is something like this, where you draw a series of lines, and towards the top they start out pretty straightforwardly. It's just a normal boring straight line. And then as you go down, it gets like messier and messier. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, you can think of it as in a few different ways, but it's like, errors kind of adding up, or maybe it's like randomness increasing. And actually, funny enough, that was a prompt a few days ago with increase the randomness along the y-axis. I could have maybe double dipped and combined these, but I don't know. I'm kind of doing this just for fun anyway, and just to kind of get into the habit of doing this every day. So anyway, all of that to say, I think that I'm going to go for something like this, and I think I'm going to try to stick with some of the more fundamental concepts like for loops. So let's jump over to our handy dandy P5 editor. We have our beautiful gray square that we traditionally start with. And so from here, what I want to do is maybe, so I could call the built-in P5 line function something like line 100, 100, and then down to a x value of, let's say, 300, 100. So it's like from here, which is 100, 100, over to 300 with a y coordinate of 100. So it's kind of a straight horizontal line. And I could draw a few of these. I could use a for loop to draw a few of these, but that wouldn't include any of the kind of random fluctuations that I want to see. So instead, what I want to do is kind of define my own function that's like draw a line. And it might take something like maybe an x and a y, and maybe a length. I think that's all I'm going to need, because all of my lines will have the same sort of y component, and I don't even know if I need a length, honestly, but we'll see. And what I want to do in my draw line function, which I can maybe already call draw line, and yeah, something like that. And what I want to do is maybe create like a for loop that goes let something like point x or current x or next x. I'm actually going to rename this variable so that I can use x and y in here. So I'm going to say that let x equals, I'm going to start it at line x. I'm going to go until, let's see, it could go line x less than, or I want x is less than line x plus length, something like that, and then x plus plus. And I could go, I'm thinking of whether I want this to be less than or less than equals. I don't think it actually matters because it's just a single pixel anyway, but if you're, you know, very careful, you might think harder about what that should be, but I don't feel like being very careful. I just want to get something working. So I could do something like point x, y, something like this. So I call draw a line, I say start at 100, 100, and then go for 300. And I realized that I think I want that to be 200, I think, because this is 100 over here, 100 over here, and the length of the line will be 200. Yeah, whatever. So anyway, the draw line function starts at 100, 100, and then goes from 100 to line x plus length, which will go to 300, which is what I was mentioning before, and it'll increase by 1 each time. So let's just draw this, and basically we shouldn't see any difference. Well, let's see, what do we do wrong? Y is not defined. Of course it's not, because I didn't define it, line y. So there you go. So I've sort of defined my own line function. I've called it draw line, and I can draw, you know, I can draw other lines. Draw a line, let's say an x value of 100, a y value of 200, and just to make things a little bit different, let's make this one 250, a little bit longer. So there you see my next line. So I might maybe move these over a little bit, make them a little bit longer. So 50, 100, and then go to like 250. It doesn't actually matter because this code's going to go away, but whatever. So next, what I want to do is I have a couple options. I could organize this part of the code, or I could focus on this part of the code. I think I'm going to focus on this part of the code first. So what I've got is a draw line function, which takes some parameters and draws a line. And right now my lines are very boring, very straight, not a lot of excitement. And what I want to do is introduce this kind of randomness to it. So I think what I'll do is do something like range up here, and eventually I want to base that off of the y, but for now I'm just going to call it something like 5. And so then what I might do is something like const y equals line y plus random, and then do something like negative range to range, something like this, and then do y here, maybe. So now in my for loop, for each x coordinate, I calculate a new y coordinate based off of the line y parameter, and then plus some random fluctuation. So I should see my line going up and down. And that's funny. So I sort of see that, but I see it in sort of an animated way because I forgot to call no loop up here. So 60 times per second, I'm drawing a random line, and it just kind of turns into this fuzzy thing. But let's try this. So yeah, I think I know what's happening. Basically, we're drawing points, but the points can be kind of far away, so they're not actually connecting to each other. So what I actually want to do is draw a line from the sort of previous value to the next value. So let's do something like let, I don't know, previous x equals, I'm going to start at x, and then let prev y equals line y. And then what do I want to do? I want to start at line x. It doesn't really matter actually, I don't think, but what I want to do is maybe call line from prev x, prev y to xy. And then after I draw my line, then I want to prepare for the next loop, and I want to say something like that, where I store my previous, my current point in the previous variables, so that the next time we loop, we have access to them. Let's just see what that does. And yeah, I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. It's getting there. I think maybe another issue is that, so we're increasing by 1 pixel each time, and so you see a lot of fluctuation from 1 pixel to another, so you kind of see these like really scribbly things. What I might do is increase it by 10 each time, so we go 10 pixels at a time, and then those will be random. And yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. I think there's maybe an artifact over here where we're starting at line X instead of line X plus 10. I might fix that later, but now I can see that my lines get, there's some randomness to them, and that's great. So the next thing I want to do is, let me think about this. I could do a few things, but maybe I want to try to base this range off of the line Y. So I could use map, the predefined map function in P5, which takes a value and then a start and an end and then like a target start and end. So I could do something like map line Y from 0 to height to, I don't know, 0 to, so this is what 5 looks like. 5 is like actually pretty random already, but I don't know, let's just try like 25 to get really crazy. So that's range, and so as I draw a line with different Y values, the range will increase. Let's see. So yeah, I think we do actually see that pretty well. So up here, my line has a Y value of 100, and so the range is, I'm probably not going to feel like doing that math, but you can map it from, so it's 100 out of 400, and so we map that to like 25% of 25. So that works. I think that works pretty well, and this looks pretty cool. So I could maybe try drawing another line at like 50, I don't know, 300, and then a length of 300 as well. Like I said, I don't know if I need this length because they're all going to be the same, but whatever. And yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. That's more random. I think maybe I'll actually map it to a higher number. Maybe that was too high. And yeah, you can start to see that like the lines up here are less random than the lines down here. Cool. So my draw line function is actually like pretty good. I might fiddle around with this 50. I might fiddle around with the way this loop starts, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. So what I want to do next is maybe clean this up. So similar to how I use a for loop in here to like loop over each pixel in a line, what I want to do is create a for loop that loops over each line. So right now I'm manually drawing 3 lines, and I could sit here and draw 10 lines just by copy pasting, but that's going to be annoying for me and boring for you to watch. So let me think about how I want to do this. I could go by like number of lines, or I could go by how much I increase the Y value each time. I think what I'll do is maybe just increase the Y value. Let's see. So let Y equals, I'm going to start it at maybe 100. So it's starting right here, and then Y is less than or equal to height minus 100, and then maybe Y plus equals, I could go 100, but let's go 50. So I'm going to draw a line 50 pixels after the previous line. So I want to draw a line. I'm going to draw them all at the same X because I want them to start at the same place, and then I want to use the Y here, and then I'm going to draw them all the same length. And actually what I might do is do like width minus 50 here. Or actually it's going to be width minus 100. We'll see. So let me get rid of these. And what I should see now is I should see a few lines being drawn based on my for loop here. And we do. Cool. So y starts at 100, increases to 150, increases to 200, increases to 250, increases to 300. And yeah, I think that's exactly what I would expect. Cool. I might maybe do 50 here and 50 here. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So I could fiddle around with the numbers, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. Based on my randomness, that looks kind of cool. I might decrease this a little bit. You know, I could go either way. I'm not sure. I kind of wish that these were like even more random. So I might play with this this length or this map function a little bit. So instead of going from 0 to height, what I want to maybe do is, it's going to get a little messy because I'm doing kind of some logic in 2 different places, but let's just think about it. So instead of starting at 0, which I don't start at 0, I start at, where do I start? I start at 50. So what I might do is put these in variables up here. So like, const top line y equals 50. We'll see. So I start this at top line y, and then I go from top line y. So now I don't have to have this magic number in a bunch of different places. I can just change it in one place. So top line y to height, what do I go to? Height minus top line y. I don't know if top line y was a good name for that variable, but we'll see. Height minus top line y. And let's just see what this does. So I'm making my mapping more specific. So like you see, my first line here is kind of random already. That's because our previous code was starting at 0, even though we don't draw a line up there. So, ooh, I like this. So my first line is very straight, and my next line is a little messy, even messier. And then by the time you get down here, it's quite a bit messy. So now I can play with this a little bit more. Ooh. And just for fun, let's go to some extreme value. Kind of like that. Yeah, maybe. So I kind of like this, like where they don't stay in their lane after a while. I'm into that. Let's see. So from here, like this is actually pretty close to what I imagined doing. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that now there's going to be like an hour of me playing with parameters, and I'm going to try to not do that, but that's kind of where the fun part is for me. But I do know that right away I do want to maybe change this and maybe make it a stroke of 255 just to make it look a little cooler. And I might change a couple things. I might make it something like this, where it's not just a square. Play with the canvas a little bit more, and it looks a little bit too narrow. So yeah, maybe something like that. Now I think maybe I have not enough lines to fill the space, so I might change this variable. That's pretty cool, actually. Let's see. All right, while I'm thinking about this, if you look at the leftmost edge, you see this like weird kind of extra point, and that's annoying me. So I want to change that. So prevex is line X, line Y, and let's do this. Const line spacing equals, right now it's 10. So I want to start at line X plus line spacing, and then X plus equals line spacing. And that's annoying, but let's maybe do it this way. All right, so I've got my for loop that loops over X, and so now I should see this kind of go away. I do. Cool. That worked. All right. So from here, what do I want to do? I kind of don't like that this goes like off the bottom edge. I don't know. I think we might just leave that up to randomness and just hit the play button enough times until we get something we like and only post that part. That's a good secret of how randomness works. You just kind of try it until it looks cool. What I want to do is maybe increase my stroke weight by a bit. Yeah, man, those are neat. Yeah, you'd think by now I would have like a go-to like stroke weight, and I always land on 2, 3, or 4, but I always have to see. Yeah, I already kind of like this. This is already pretty cool. Let me just try a couple things. Let me just test that this kind of logic works. And it does. You might get a different number of lines based on your width and height, but that's okay. That's exactly what I wanted actually. So I don't know, this is bugging me. I'm gonna just call this margin, and so y equals margin, y is less than height margin. I'm gonna do this margin times 2. So nothing should change, but I was kind of using the variable in a way that I shouldn't have been. So I'm going to call it by what I actually meant it to be. And of course, I forgot to do something. Top line y. No. Do I just need margin here? Yeah, I do. Yeah, cool. Actually, I think I might be able to get rid of this. Let me think about this. So length, x plus equals line x plus length. I think I can do width minus margin here and get rid of this. Since all my lines have the same width anyway, kind of doesn't make sense to pass it into the parameter. I could do the same thing for x, honestly, but I don't know. You could probably do that if you're bothered by it. Yeah, draw a line taking an x and y seems to make a certain amount of sense to me. Whatever. I could obsess over that, but I'm not going to. So from here, let's play with a couple things. So I kind of like this. I think this is pretty much exactly what I'm going to post. I think maybe margin of 20 or 50 was too much. Yeah, man, that's cool. Let me hit play until I find one I really like. And I think maybe the bottom one I should end a little earlier. So let's do, instead of less than or equal to, let's just do less than. And yeah, there you go. I think I like that because we know that the bottom one's going to go up and down quite a bit. So we increase the margin kind of artificially. So I think that works. So let me just check the time real quick. 23 minutes in or so. All right, I'm going to maybe end this in a minute, but what I could do, right now I'm doing stroke 255 here for all of the lines. I could instead do, I don't know, you know my favorite line of code, random 255, random 255, random 255. So now each line will have a different random color. And, you know, I don't know, I could take it or leave it. I kind of like the just white. So yeah, I mean, you could play with color. You could do something like similar to this line where you map the color. So instead of going from line Y, instead of going from 0 to 50, what I maybe want to do is go from like, I don't know, 255 to 64. You know, I don't know. I'm actually not even sure if this will work, but let's see. So this will be, I don't know, C. And we'll call that, see what this does. So yeah, you see that like as my lines go down, they get darker because I'm mapping the color from line Y variable. But I don't know, I kind of think that I liked the just white. I think it's nice and, I don't know, simple, minimal maybe. yeah, I kind of like this. I think looking at it, you can kind of just see what it's saying. Like it tells a bit of a story. I mean, not a story, but like a an art story. Like you can see that this line is very boring straight, and then as you go down, it gets curvier and more wrong. Is the idea I was going for. Um, so other things you could play with, animation. So you could make it so the lines draw themselves like over time. Right now the lines just kind of show up, and I think that's okay. But if you were into animation, you could draw one line at a time, or you could draw all of the lines at the same time, but they all sort of draw from the X of whatever the start X is to the end X, so they animate left to right together. So I don't know. Those are a few things you could play with, but for me, I think this is pretty close to what I was going for. So I'm going to say that I'm pretty happy with this. All right, cool. So looking ahead, let's see. Tomorrow's prompt is a bunch of colors, and I honestly have no idea what to do with this one. So I'm going to have to think about this one, and we'll see if I participate tomorrow, or if I just take a day off, or if I try to do a different video or whatever. But I think I'm going to call this video done, and I'll post this tonight and stuff. But that's it for me. So just to sort of recap, maybe. So our draw function uses a for loop to loop over the lines we want to draw, and for each line it calls the draw line function, and the draw line function uses another for loop to loop over the x coordinates in a line, and it adds some randomness to each coordinate based on how far down the canvas we are, and you get an effect sort of like this. Oh, that's a good one. I think that's what I'm going to end on. All right. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have questions, or if you want to just say hi, don't hesitate to come to Happy Coding. Come say hi on the forum, leave a comment, all that good stuff. But I'm just going to say thanks for watching, and have a good night. And as always, happy coding.